About a month ago, I released a Terraria weapon review looking at one of the absolute worst weapons I've ever had the displeasure of using, the Golems Fist. And so today, I figured we'd complete the whole Golem drop pool and look at something I imagine would at the very least blow the fist out the water. Of course, I'm talking about the Stynger. You know, after looking at this weapon seriously, while it definitely has some use, it's really not that great, and it's probably just as useless to obtain. But you know, let's keep an open mind, as maybe it'll surprise us. Probably not. Before we jump into it though, want to know something crazy? Around 80% of you beautiful people aren't actually subbed to the channel. So if you enjoy these weapon reviews, don't forget to let YouTube know. Alright, let us begin. Now, obtainability wise, like any golem drop, it's pretty straightforward, just requiring you to open your lizard temple after defeating Terraria and navigating your way through it as quickly as possible. As always, while you're there, don't forget to loot the chests for power cells, and if you're having a hard time avoiding traps, you can always drink a danger sense potion to make your life a lot easier. Okay. Once you're in the altar room, very simply activate a power cell at the altar, and the fight will begin. Okay, so it's Golem, so it really shouldn't matter what you use, and if anything, for the Ranger class, just use this as an opportunity to use something you wouldn't normally stick with, like in this case, the Piranha Gun. Either way though, whatever weird or wonderful weapon you decide on, upon Golem's death, his treasure bag will have a 14.29% chance of dropping the Stinger weapon, which weirdly for me, I managed to get about 1 billion dev sets before seeing mine. It doesn't really matter though, as with how farmable this boss is, it should only take you a max of 10 mins or so to get yours to drop. Okay then, with the Stinger in hand, let's see if it's worth hanging on to. Now, to be fair to this weapon, in a vacuum it looks pretty good, with my first impressions genuinely being, oh, maybe it's not so bad. Firing unique Stinger bolt ammunition, which travels at high velocity and explodes upon impact with an enemy or solid tile. And also, while its base damage of 45 looks shockingly low, luckily like some other launchers, it will deal double damage if the projectile hits a target directly, so it's basically got a base of 90. Also, the bolts do explode into a nice AoE of shrapnel fragments, which will play a big part in its multi-target performance. However, as you can see, compared to some other same tier and even earlier explosive weapons, its single target DPS really isn't that impressive, with it looking closer to something like the tank shotgun than a fully fledged launcher. So I guess with its functionality in mind, you'd hope it'd demolish the multi-target test, right? And well, although we see massive advances in DPS here, well into the 2000s, the nailgun can also do this, and maybe even a little bit more, which normally I'd say is okay, but you have to remember that the nailgun is obtainable pre-Golem. Yeah, ouch. Oh, and when it comes to the snowman cannon with mini nukes, it just leaves them both for dead. With this in mind though, let's see how it fares against the real thing. Again, to give the Stinger some credit compared to the Golem's Fist, it does stand on its own 2 feet, being able to take out large spread out groups very well. And to be honest, I would say despite the nailgun's high DPS, it manages this group at about the same speed. Just don't bring the snowman cannon back into it though. And this also means that against tankier single targets, the Stinger is definitely the weakest of the 3, with it taking a good few shots to take down these biome mimics, whereas once again, the cannon just kind of wipes them out immediately. So yeah, this is looking a little rough, so shall we see if we can make a comeback against bosses? And well, if only the Sting was obtainable pre-Golem, right? Because the Cultist is an absolutely awful boss to fight with such a weapon, with it requiring quite precise aim, giving very little reward in terms of damage if you actually hit your shots. Even the Snowman Cannon once again beats it, and this is with a damage penalty due to the homing. Oh, and to put some salt into the wound, I finished them off with a nail gun. Saying this, I don't want this all to be negative though, as it really isn't as bad as the Golem's Fist, which is becoming hard to prove against the pillars, which is why I think if you actually want to get some use out of this thing, I found it fantastic for the early waves of both the Pumpkin and Frost Moon, with its wide damage spread being able to take out tens of low HP enemies at once. So you know, if you're trying to farm something else like the Snowman Cannon for instance, and happen to get the Stinger on your first Golem kill, it might be worth bringing along to help you get through those early waves swiftly. Just be prepared to switch to something else though when those mini bosses pop up. So there we have it, the Stinger. Almost as underwhelming as the Golem's Fist, but not quite. I think this is just one of those weapons that seriously needs either a massive buff or complete overhaul, because even with it dealing double damage to targets which was only introduced in 1.4, there are so many better options available at this point, which you'll probably find yourself with anyway. This has been sockrteez, and I'll see you in the next one.